is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
So many people have tried to convince me to get a monopod for wildlife. It makes sense. On paper, it's like, oh yeah, that's way more stable. It's pretty versatile. It's not super heavy. It wasn't until this company reached out and the features, I was like, okay, that makes sense on paper, but does it fit my demands? That's the real question. Okay, so we got an interesting episode. I took the Nikon Z6 III out with that TTArtisan's 500mm 26.3 prime, which has no stave in the thing, and I was like, if I had a monopod, that'd be super stable. So we got a bunch of footage and I used it, and I'll tell you what's wrong with it and what I love and what I hate. So first amazing and could be improved feature is it has a quick release. There's many times where I've done wildlife on a tripod and then it's like, I want to get something way down on the ground even. What are you gonna do? It's not quick. Whereas this has a quick release head on paper. So this, boom, and then you quick boom that. Huh? And then you're booming on this. You have to press it and then you're in. And that was the first shot I actually got. Oh, little froggy. What a magical look, man. I tell you, Nikon 6K 60 RAW, we're just like, that prime lens, like it's so cheap, but it has this look to it that is just magic. Yes, it's noisy as heck. I was in a dark forest and the RAW is just super noisy and I refuse to denoise it. Punched into 4K 120p and it's just like, yep, I see it. But you notice how it's not like super stable. That will be a recurring theme throughout this episode. It's like monopod, much more stable than it was handheld with no stave in the lens, but I wasn't like blown away. There was still like little micro jitters. So if I was to improve this little quick release system, it's just slightly annoying that the button press is not on the leg itself. So I feel like I should be pressing a button here and taking it off, whereas I have to press and pinch a little bit. Like, it's totally doable, it's easy as hell, but come on, let me complain. And you can just jam it in there to lock it. Boom. I thought you couldn't. I was gonna complain about that. So just jam and lock. Okay, so this is the Fotopro X-Airfly. Probably should have mentioned that near the beginning of the video. They sent it to me to review, I get to keep it. This is a ShillTubers review, but it sounded good on paper. I was like, this has a bunch of key features that could make wildlife easy. We're using the MH2A video head. It came with a little handle, but I took that off. And it's actually like, it's smooth up and down and side to side. So it's almost like a gimbal head. Like you can pretty much get any angle you want. As the song sparrow dances in the night. You see, it's not like, oh, there's an ant on the right. Wow, that is the cinema. So it's like more stable than it was handheld, and you could just digital stave to iron out the kinks, but I was actually kind of surprised that even though I'm using this monopod here, it's like, still kind of a little bit shaky. It's not like perfect. You'd be much better off with just really good lens stabilization and handheld. That's how I prefer to shoot myself, but I can see a place for monopods in certain situations. You got your bird on a railing, it's like, okay, we're manually focusing, pretty stable. It was actually quite easy to use, and I had no major complaints out in the field compared to the first one that I reviewed that literally fell apart in my hands. Whenever someone tells me to get a monopod or a tripod, just use a tripod, you moron, I send them that video of why I never use monopods. And it just like, it wasn't right. I was on the Sony 200-600 and it was a ball head. And I remember being at this blackbird and I could not focus on, I couldn't line him up. I was like, the angle's all off. I'm so used to being able to point and look at the top of the lens hood, line it up and then down to the viewfinder. And it just felt so, the angle was off. Whereas this one felt much better. And it's fairly quick. If you need to get a little lower, just release that, nope, release that one. A lot of people were saying like, it's just your cheap monopod, it sucks, get a real good one and it'll be better. I was like, no, but it actually was a better experience. I still prefer handheld, and I'll never use this again, but it was like pretty good. I saw a yellow bird feeding its baby. Oh, the cuteness was ours. They were kissing and feeding each other. It was fantastic, but yeah, you can see like it's a little shaky. It's like, it's not like, oh, that solved all my issues, thank God. Oh, this is perfect. And it was heavier to bring than handheld, but I see why people do it, and it is possible. Just have to drink some of this hawk blood. Now, one thing that I found kind of awkward at times, you put this monopod down and it's a bit tilted. And since this is a awkwardly forward and turning mode, like it's not a tilter, they do have this pedal system. Okay, I don't know how much I love that. You do that and then you can sway, and technically if you go that way, okay, you're swaying and you can line things up. It's just a bit awkward to get that perfect. You'd probably want a gimbal head, I understand it, but those things are huge and heavy. I wanted the smallest, lightest head possible, and this one fits the bill for most of your stuff, but there's gonna be the odd time where you're a bit tilted, so I was kind of leaning a bit, and I don't know, it's just, you're gonna tilt. I'm not 100% sure where that would come most in handy. Is it like that so you can get lower, or do you want to be more to the side and I don't know, something like that. So it's doable. On paper it's pretty easy. It's a one press to unlock, and then once it's back up you press it again and it's locked in. I saw a red-winged blackbird through a fence. It was a magical moment that we shared together. I tell you, like, that TTArtisan lens is so glorious. I wish it had Stabe in it so I could do handheld. But like, if you're doing your monopod stuff, okay. Most of the shots were pretty stable and beautiful. You could totally get by with that combo. Like, my 600mm 6.3 prime is like, I bet you it's more clinical looking. But the TTArtisan lens is actually a bit heavier, and no Stabe, and no autofocus. Like, there's a lot to hate about that lens, but totally, just the look, if you're going off only the look, I think it looks even better, just more magical. I like these flip locks. They feel good. They almost like come out for you. They're like pressurized or something, and it's like really nice. Most tripods don't feel like this. It just feels nice to open them. It's like, wow. And when it comes to carrying it, I found this was really nice to do. This just goes under, and I was walking like that. It was like quite comfortable. It was good. And then like once you see something, you're like pretty much ready to go if it was at the proper height, if I didn't just demonstrate those beautiful flippy switches. But it's a quite heavy duty monopod that can hold, I think this head and this combo can hold over 5 kilograms. So like there's almost nothing you couldn't hold on it. And those are just suggestions, just ignore those. I saw a squirrel deep in the forest and he came out to recognize me. He said hello. Is that a monopod you're using? Wow, that looks stable. It's so much better than just handheld, huh? Because if I was to kneel down, then you're all shaky and stuff. I could have adjusted for a better angle, but I didn't. And the panning pretty smooth? Huh? Monopod glory. I see why you do it. I understand you now. I saw this freak bird. He was building a nest or something in complete darkness, but since the Nikon Z6 III has such amazing dynamic range, you can just pull the shadows, and since it's raw, there's no noise in it at all. And it's just beautiful footage awaiting you when you get home. And thanks to your monopod, it's pretty stable no matter what you did. So that was a good trip, huh? That was a nice little walk. So all in all, when it comes to the monopod itself, it was like well thought out, nice features, cool stuff, easy to use, pretty lightweight enough. When it comes to my style though, like I would much rather just be like taking that off, throwing that piece in the garbage, and then just, oh yeah, handheld. That's so much better. If you had something heavier, I can understand your back pain. I'm with you. My shoulder hurts right now, actually. The stabilization in lenses nowadays is so good that it's just so much easier. Like, I often nitpick over like 200 grams in a lens and like, oh man, that's heavier. Whereas you're adding like 1,000, 1,400 plus in a monopod. It's like, this is so much easier. You just clip it on your backpack. It's like Personally, I like going handheld all the way. So affiliate links are available to you if you're looking for a monopod. You could do worse. You could do worse. That's pretty good for monopods. Came with a little carrying case too. There's your wrist strap. If I was to improve this thing, I don't know, like I would want it a bit lighter maybe, and just a different head that was still as small as this, but could also tilt that way maybe. Some type of new head, a gimbal head that isn't one of those freaky things. And then the quick release button on the leg itself, or what would be even better is this pedal system is what gives the quick release. Then you pull that off and you're doing that at the same time as the top one. Both off and then on. That would be much quicker. This pedal tilting thing, I don't really see the point of it. So thank you Fotopro for the monopod. Good luck next time, and thank you for shopping around down there after you donate Bitcoin. That's the better thing to spend your money on. Let's be real. I'll leave. How you doing? You subscribing for more videos, Alex?